Hello students, now we are in the third video of the chapter The Enemy from our book Vistas. Till now we have studied that the prisoner of war, an American soldier, was washed ashore in the front of Sadow's house. Hannah and Sadow took the American soldier to their home, and later on Dr. Sadow operated the injured American soldier, and he declared that he will live now. After the operation, the American soldier woke up. His blue colored eyes were full of fright as he realized where he was. Hannah felt sorry for him. She served him food as the servants refused to enter the room where he was kept. Hannah met the injured man for the first time. She saw that the man was gathering strength and he was full of fear. Hannah said softly to the injured man that he should not be afraid. He was astonished that she could speak English. Hannah replied that she had lived in America for a long time. The man wanted to speak further but was not able to speak. Hannah fed him gently with a spoon made of porcelain. The man did not want to eat, but still he ate. As Hannah fed the man, she said that soon he would become strong. She said so despite the fact that she disliked him. The man did not reply to her. Sadow visited the man on the third day after the operation. The young boy was sitting, but his face was pale and weak due to the effort that he made while sitting. Sadow screamed at him and ordered him to lie down. He said that the man would die if he stressed himself. Sadow forced him down and inspected the wound that he had operated upon. He scolded the man that he could die if he tried to exert himself. The boy asked Sadow that what would he do with him now. It seemed that the boy was hardly 17 years old. He asked Sadow that would he hand him over to the Japanese army. Sadow did not reply instantly. He completed examining the body and then put the silk quilt on him. Sadow said that he himself did not know what he should do with the boy. He added that he was supposed to hand him over to the police. He also disclosed that he knew that the boy was a prisoner of war. As Sadow saw that the boy was about to speak, he raised his hands to indicate him not to do so. Sadow asked him not to speak and not to tell his name unless he asked him to do so. Sadow and the boy exchanged glances, and then the boy closed his eyes and turned his face towards the wall. He said okay in a low voice as he felt bitter by Sadow's words. Outside the door, Hannah was waiting for Sadow. He saw that she was in some sort of a trouble. Hannah said to Sadow that Yummy told her that the servants would not stay with them if the American man lived there any longer. She also said that Sadow and Hannah had been in America for such a long time that they had forgotten their country's priority. Yummy and the servants thought that Hannah and Sadow liked Americans. Sadow reacted harshly and said that this was not true. He said that Americans were their enemies. He had been trained in such a way that he could not let a man die and would help to save him in whichever way he could. That was what Sadao had done. सडाओ बताते हैं कि उनको ऐसा ट्रेनिंग दिया गया है कि वो किसी इंजर्ड आदमी को जैसे भी हो उसकी लाइफ सेव करेंगे. Hana said that the servants could not understand Sadao's predicament. Sadao agreed with this. Both of them had nothing more to say. The course of the house continued, but the servants were vigilant. They were polite but unfriendly towards their masters. नौकर घर के जो थे वो उन पर अपने मास्टर्स के ऊपर अब नज़र रख रहे थे कि वो क्या कर रहे हैं. One morning, the old gardener said that it was obvious what their masters should have done. The old gardener had worked with flowers all his life and specialized in moss. He had been employed by Sadao's father. The gardener had made one of the best moss garden in Japan for Sadao's father. He would sweep the bright green colored carpet of the moss clean so that the sharp leaves of pine tree could not spoil the soft velvety surface. He plucked a flower bud from the bush as he said that his master's son, that is Sadao, knew very well what he was supposed to do. He added that when the man was almost dead, he should have left him to bleed to death. The cook said disrespectfully that their master was so proud of his skill at saving lives that he did not bother whose life he was saving. She cut the neck of a hen skillfully and held the bird as it shivered. She let the blood of the hen flow into the wisteria plant. The old gardener had instructed her that blood was the best fertilizer for the plants, and he did not allow her to waste a single drop of it. Yami was worried about the fate of Sadao and Hana's children. She wondered that when they grew up, they would be labeled as the children of a traitor. As Sadao was helping an American, all the people of Japan would consider him to be an enemy of Japan, a traitor of his country. यमी को सडाओ और हाना के बच्चों की चिंता है. उसे लगता है कि जब वो बड़े होंगे तो लोग उन्हें एक ट्रेटर के बच्चे बुलाएंगे, क्योंकि सडाओ जापानीज होने के बावजूद भी अमेरिकन सोल्जर की हेल्प करके उसकी लाइफ को सेव किए. As Hana stood in the veranda arranging the flowers, the servants discussed the matter in her presence as they wanted her to know their views about the matter. Hana also felt that the servants were right, but she had some feelings for the injured man which she could also not analyze. She did not like the prisoner, neither she was attached towards him. The day before, the injured man told her that his name was Tom. Hana did not like him at that moment also. She had reacted by bowing her head mildly. She saw that her reaction hurt the injured man, but she did not want to reduce this hurt that she had caused to him, because the injured man was a great trouble to her. His presence was a threat to Hana and Sadao. Sadao was performing his role perfectly. He would examine the wound every day. One morning, the last stitches were removed from the injured man's body, and he would be as well as ever in the next 15 days. In the meantime, Sadao went to his office and wrote a letter to the chief of the police to report the entire matter to him. Sadao started his report and he wrote that on the 21st of February, an escaped prisoner was washed up on the shore in front of his house. Sadao had just typed this much of the report. He opened the drawer of his desk and kept this unfinished report in it. On the seventh day after that, two things happened. The servants of the house left in the morning. They had tied their belongings in huge pieces of cloth. When Hannah got up in the morning, she saw that the work had not been done. The house was dirty and the food had not been cooked. She realized that the servants were up to something. She was shocked and horrified when she came to know that the servants were leaving. Hannah did not show her feelings to the servants. Instead, she remained calm and maintained her grace as the lady of the house. She paid the servants and thanked them for their services. As the servants had been working there for many years, they were crying, but Hannah did not cry. The cook and the gardener were very old employees. They had been employed by Sadao's father and had served Sadao since his childhood. Yami was crying because she would miss the children. She was so sad that she ran up to Hannah after she had left. Yami said to Hannah that if the baby missed her at night, she could call her. She further added that she was going to her own house and Hannah knew where her house was. Hannah smiled and thanked her for the offer, but to herself she said that in case the baby cried, she would not call to Yami. The next morning, Hannah prepared the breakfast and Sadao helped her by looking after the children. Neither of them talked regarding the servants, but after Hannah served the morning food to the prisoner of war, she came back to Sadao, probably to talk something. Hannah was very worried and she questioned that why they were not very clear about what they ought to do. She added that even their servants were very clear as compared to them. She said that why were they behaving differently from other Japanese people? Hannah wanted to say that as Americans were their enemies, they should not have treated that prisoner of war and they should have let him die just like any other Japanese would have done. Sadao did not reply to Hannah, but after some time he went into the room where the prisoner of war was resting and spoke very fast. He said that the day the man could get up and stand on his feet, Sadao wanted him to stand only for 5 minutes at a time. Further, he added that the next day he could try to stand for double the time, that is 10 minutes. Sadao also said that it would be good for everyone that the man regained strength as soon as possible. Sadao hinted that they wanted to get rid of the Americans as early because he had become a cause of trouble for them. Sadao saw that his words brought a hint of terror and a scare on the face of the young boy. His face was still very pale and colorless because he was very weak. The boy spoke in a low voice and said, "Okay." It appeared that he wanted to speak something more, but he just said that he wanted to thank Sadao for saving his life. Sadao was very expressionless when he said that the boy did not need to thank him yet. As he spoke this, he saw that the hint of scare again appeared in the boy's eyes. The writer compares the boy's terrorized eyes to that of a scared animal. The injuries marks on the neck of the boy turned the bright red in color for a while. Sadao thought that what has caused those injury marks, but he did not ask the boy about them. That day, the second incident happened in the afternoon. Hannah was busy with the household work as the servants had left. All of a sudden, she had to perform all the work which she was not used to. She was very tired. She saw that a messenger wearing official uniform had come to the house. As she saw him, her hands went weak and she was unable to breathe. This was because she felt that the servants must have told the authorities that they were sheltering an enemy. Hannah ran up to Sadao and she was struggling to breathe. She was unable to speak. By that time, the messenger also followed her through the garden and he stood in front of Sadao. Hannah was helpless and she pointed her finger towards the messenger. Sadao was reading a book and when he saw Hannah, he looked up. He was sitting in his office, which had a partition in it. The part of the office beyond the partition opened into the garden and was full of shady sunshine. Sadao asked the messenger the matter due to which he had visited them. When he saw that the messenger was wearing a uniform, he stood up as a mark of respect. The messenger said that Sadao was supposed to accompany him to the palace. He added that the old general was suffering in pain and Sadao was supposed to visit him and treat him as a doctor. Upon hearing this, Hannah was relieved and she said, "Oh." With this, she took a deep breath and asked that, was that all for which the messenger had come? The messenger reacted and said, all. He could not understand that what else could it be for which he was supposed to visit the house. He asked that, was that not enough? Did they want any other reason for him to visit them? Hannah was sorry for her reaction and said that the reason was enough for the messenger to visit them. She did not need any other reason for him to visit them. As Sadao had to accompany the messenger, he went to Hannah to say goodbye. Hannah was in the kitchen, but she was not doing anything. The children had gone to sleep and Hannah was taking rest. She was more tired due to the scare on seeing the messenger than she was from doing the household work. Hannah said to Sadao that she had thought that the messenger had come to arrest him. Sadao looked carefully at Hannah's anxious eyes. He was very sad and distressed, and he said that he must get rid of the man for her sake. He added that he had to get rid of the man by any means. Sadao went along with the messenger to visit the general. So here we'll stop and we'll see the next part of the story in the next video.